Today is the day that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots have decided to part ways. We were expecting this, Sigmund,
Mhm,
but now that it's here, it just seems unreal in a week
mhm.
where the Titans move on from Mike Vrabel. We'll get to it. Pete Carroll steps down. We'll get to it. But right now and today, on Thursday, January 11th, is the day where the Belichick era for the Patriots is over.
Yeah, the other shoe dropping, right? Tom Brady leaving. That was when the Death Star blew up. And I guess this is let's not try to build another Death Star. We're done. It's over. No more Death Stars. And I think Andy Reid comes to mind whenever Philadelphia ownership just decided, you know what, we're better off without each other at this point. And I think obviously the next question is, where does Bill Belichick end up? Does he want to go after Don Shula's record? Does he want to show, because what has the conversation been about the Patriots since Tom Brady left? Was it Brady? Was it Belichick? Was it both? How much was it each one? That kind of stuff. This is his chance to have his own chapter that really has nothing to do with Tom Brady. But I think I don't want to say the game passed Bill Belichick by, because see, we can turn back to the beginning of this show, 2006, 2007. He was an innovator,
Right.
and an innovator far out ahead of the pack, much more open to the winds of change, the wave that was coming in the NFL. So perhaps the game passed him by, but an old dog can learn new tricks. It's just a question of where's his doghouse going to be. And for the Patriots, I mean, they have a pick to get a quarterback. You start there, and
Yeah.
then it's the Patriots. So Robert Kraft is also kind of conservative about this stuff. It's probably going to be what, Jared Mayo or Mike Vrabel, a former player,
Yeah, unless Mike Vrabel goes to Alabama. No Nick Saban either. So we've
right?
had bombshell after bombshell. And I think Nick Saban actually, Bloom, we don't talk college football at all, although we do talk about college prospects. Like, I think the Nick Saban thing plays into this because if you're
Sure.
Mike Vrabel, hey, you guys let me go. Great. I'm going to go be a legend at Alabama. So I really do think it is Gerard Mayo, but who the hell is the GM? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because with Belichick, and
What's the
I don't
ethos of the
know.
team? What's the
Right.
identity of the team?
Right. So what quarterback fits the dirty secret in the NFL? Fit. The
Yeah.
one F word I can say where I don't have to say sorry, Joe. It's fit. So like what the hell is the fit? I have no idea, even if it is Gerard Mayo, and it's probably just leaning towards Gerard Mayo, which is fine. But do they want to get completely away from the Belichick era? What Belichick
Right.
assistants have really done much of anything?
Right.
And we can go
Right.
through the list of names. So do you want to just completely wipe the slate clean, or do you want to have residue of Belichick left
Right.
over?
Right.
And
The
and
DNA.
is that still their mindset? And having to get a GM, the coach and the GM have to be on the same page. But if your coach came up under Belichick and then your GM comes in and he does things differently from Belichick, like it's just creating more problems for Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots.
Yes, I think what you're getting at is this franchise, if they're going to go forward again, has to go backward before they go forward, right? If you're in the lab creating the new Patriots franchise, if you start with the DNA via Jared Mayo of the Belichick era, you got to leave all the bad DNA behind, right? Again, what was the stats of 2013 or 2014? Zero picks in the first 3 rounds have been signed to a second contract. That is brutal. That is leaving the cupboard bare. Who were the signature players of the Patriots going forward? Uh, Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez. I mean, I guess
Maybe.
Christian Barmore. So defense, Jared Mayo is a defensive head coach. You're going to try to win street fights, but you need to move the offensive mindset forward. And it starts with the quarterback. And maybe if it is Jared Mayo, then we're really going to focus on the offensive coordinator and really hope that it's an offensive coordinator that is going to be forward looking and not one that, I mean, I don't even know how to even make sense of the decisions Bill Belichick was making on the offensive coaching staff the last few years. I mean, we laughed at Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. We're kind of laughing at Matt Patricia right now, even though he's back on defense. Anyway, this is a lot more questions than answers. And for Robert Kraft, this is really kind of all he's known, right? Everything came easy. So where does he fit into the decision making here? And again, the most intriguing question is, where does Bill Belichick end up? But we had see what's wild about this one too is we had a lot of advance notice. We had a lot of chance to emotionally, psychologically prepare for this.
All right.
And it's still something that we're turning the page. I think a lot sees about, wow, I've been alive long enough to really see things change. But when change comes, it still impacts you.
Well, and we've been doing the show long enough that there's players' sons that are now coming into the league. It's like, oh, wow, all right. And we've seen it's not necessarily dog years, but
Mm-hmm.
NFL career being 4 years. We've
Right.
seen so many like guys we're excited about that, they're done for various reasons, and there's been a few that have stuck around. But since we've been talking, this is our 19th season of the Audible.
Mm-hmm.
Belichick's been there.
That's the constant. Yeah.
Now he won't be there. Like, this is just, it's bizarre. I know everyone's putting out the Vince McMahon meme where he's crying and he does this to like shut off the camera. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, man. It's gonna be weird seeing and looking over, no more hoodie, no more, poor little kids trying to give him a high five. He just walks right by him. Maybe that's at a new team, and the new team might be in the AFC West. Will the Spanos family, will the
Right.
Spanos money family, will the Spanos family spend the money that it takes to get a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Belichick? Or will they go on the cheap? I mean, that's what they're notorious for. But I believe that if you're Belichick, go get Herbert his ring.
Mm.
That would be maybe the easiest path. And if we look at all these openings, the most attractive to me is because you have Justin Herbert, it's the Chargers.
Yeah, but does Belichick see it that way? I think the starting point for what comes next for Belichick conversation is first of all, is he like a Sean Payton stature emperor still, so that whoever's coming to him is saying, you get to make all the terms. How much money do you want? How much control do you want? You pick your assistants, you pick everything. If you want to fire the GM, you can fire the GM. The Chargers wouldn't be a problem. They have a GM opening. Is he going to insist on being the GM? Is he going to insist
Right.
on having that much power? Or is how things ended with the Patriots going to have more of a level negotiating table when he sits down with these teams? And you bring in Jim Harbaugh, and I would say Jim Harbaugh, and it's a similar question. And is it a good thing? And that's the other thing. If you're a fan of a franchise and Bill Belichick comes in and it's Emperor Belichick again, is that a good thing? Is that going to move your franchise forward or backward? Is he just going to bring in all the cocoon, all of his buddies, everybody he's always, what was the talk? Oh, McDaniels might come back to New England. It's almost like if you were on the fence about keeping Belichick and you said, well, what's your plan, right? Isn't this how we
McDaniels.
repair? Well, definitely then it's over, right? We're trying to repair relationships. What's your plan for repairing this relationship? Bring back McDaniel. Come on. Really? Seriously. So you wonder where he's at. It's all very intriguing. It's going to be an extremely intriguing offseason. He's just on the head coach and franchise front. And that doesn't even get into the quarterback front. The two are intertwined. And it's Kate was asking me, she's like, what do all the football fans do now? Well, you just talk about all the things that are going on off the field.
That's why we never stop except for July. Why'd the Titans get rid of Mike Vrabel? How shocked
That's
were you
bad ownership.
when that
Bad
news
ownership.
comes down?
Bad
Okay.
ownership. No, I
Next.
mean, no, I'm not trying to be cease. I'm not trying to be so summarily just being like this one's easy because everything's complicated. But sometimes you can reverse engineer things because again, we're peeking through keyholes. Still, we are peeking through keyholes. See, you sometimes have the door open to you. Are we still peeking through keyholes when it comes to understanding the whys of what we watch on Sundays?
Yes, 1000%.
We're peeking through keyholes. And sometimes you have to then solve for X being what's on the other side of the door based on the reactions. What was the universal reaction to Mike Vrabel getting fired that you saw, Cease?
It was shock. Like, what are they doing?
They fired a good coach.
Right.
You just got rid of what was right about your franchise.
Yes, the
That's
guy
what I
that
saw.
established the culture.
Yeah.
Which is the important word. Sean Payton said something at the end of a season press conference, which he was rambling, Bloom, but I thought that he said something very prophetic. Going somewhere where football matters is important to a coach. So we're talking about Belichick landing with the Chargers. Well, I know there's some Chargers fans, but it's like, does football matter? Like it matters in New England and Tennessee. It's like that fan base and coming over from the Oilers, and like that fan base had fallen in love with Vrabel because it matters there. They established something. Now what do they have?
Yeah, they don't have anything. And I think that if we're going to look at this one, just from the outside looking in, okay, it's clear this was not a mutual breakup. Okay. The Titans, Amy Adams Strunk, whatever her name is, she dumped Vrabel. Fair? You know, it's a fair interpretation.
Yep.
Yeah. Not Rand Carthon. Not Rand Carthon.
And I think Rand, some people mistakenly are giving Rand a hard time. Like Rand's a really good man, and I feel good. Like the ownership may be terrible, but I feel good about the GM in place. Unfortunately, it's now without Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, and I think that, again, the simplest way to put it is most everything that was good about the Titans, and remember, this was a Super Bowl contender. This team was a Super Bowl contender
With Ryan
a
Tannehill.
reject quarterback. Yeah, with a reject quarterback.
Okay, I just said his name. You went to reject. Like, okay.
Well, what I mean is they were a Super Bowl contender with a quarterback that was thrown to the scrap heap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's because of Mike Vrabel. This team overachieved. Even this year, they probably overachieved. They probably should have been picking in the top 3 or 4, right? They probably should have been Carolina, New England bad this year. They still, and hey, they got the Steelers into the playoffs. Thanks for that. So yeah, where do they go to? I mean, you can look at the AJ Brown trade as the real downfall of this particular iteration of the Titans. Did Mike Vrabel have anything to do with that? I don't think so. So, did he have anything to do with the offensive line being in such shambles? I don't think so. So, yeah, Mike Vrabel, and I think the football world, see, you want to talk about football mattering, I would unpack that as ownership gets out of the way and lets football people make football decisions.
Right.
So
that's why Carolina has problems, because Dave Tepper won't get out of the way. He like refuses to get out of I'm the smartest guy in the world.
Right. Here's the skills that it takes to make or inherit money in the current America are not necessarily the skills that create wins on a football field.
Where do the Titans go from this? I've got my notes here, Bloom, and I'm like, okay, Belichick gone. Here comes Gerard Mayo. We're going to talk about Pete Carroll. That's Dan Quinn, by the way. And then under Mike Vrabel, I have a question mark. Tennessee, like what? Huh? With the personnel you have, with as much work as you have to do in the division that you're in as well. What?
Yeah, what's the signature of this team going forward? I don't know. And see, this is going to be one where when you look at after the breakup, who's doing better after the divorce? It's Vrabel, right? Vrabel's going to get to pick his next job. I think Vrabel is well respected in the football world, and they will recognize what he has done, and it will open any door for him that he wants. Who will come to Tennessee knowing that there's a couple of key things, since we can do like media analysis, right? Amy Adams, I don't know why my brain is, I don't know if it's Strunk or not, but there's a third name there. She did a sit down with the team media, right? She didn't do a press conference. She didn't put herself out there as the person to talk to the media, even though it was obviously clearly her decision. She put out a statement that said alignment's important, alignment. Rand Carthon says we didn't have any disagreements. Like Vrabel. Well, maybe he didn't say it that unequivocally.
Right.
But Rand Carthon did not indicate that he also was on board with this. Okay. And
alignment's just a corporate buzzword. It's one of those like paradigm shift, like one of those words where you're just like, oh God, you're speaking in sound bites. Like stop.
Yeah. So I mean,
pretty much listen to anything Dave Tepper says, and you're like, oh.
Right. So I think you hit it when you said, where do the Titans go from here? Who would want to go? I mean, maybe it's a more attractive than the Carolina job, but not much more attractive. Will Levis, Derrick Henry's a free agent. That's your signature player that gives you an ethos on defense. Who do you have? What kind of, this is it constantly overachieving defense? Does it continue to be without Mike Vrabel? So I'm sorry, Titans fans. It may be a while before this team is respectable again.
Yeah. And then to wrap things up on our second part of our coaching carousel, Pete Carroll, man. And our guy, Matt Harmon, tweeted it out about Pete Carroll's, press conference talking about, glory to the players, glory to the game. And we appreciate Matt so much. You talk about a bright star in this industry, one of the good guys, right? And we certainly love Matt and Pete, man. When Russell Wilson's coming out on Twitter and being like, "Man, it was one of the best," like, and those two didn't get along, but you see the respect that Pete Carroll brings, and he said, what was that Monday, Bloom? Like, I'm not
I want to
slowing
be back.
down. I
Yeah.
want to be back. And then a couple days later, it's like, you're going to be an advisor now. I think Dan Quinn takes over, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's a DNA where you're not scrapping everything, right?
No.
That's a DNA you want to keep around. And that's why Carroll is staying around in some sort of advisor role. But I'm getting chills talking to it about you, brother, because it's like,
Yeah.
dude, what? Like, Pete
Yeah.
Carroll, I don't want to see Seattle not coached by Pete Carroll, but they're going to be now.
Where do we even begin? Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick, the signature coaches of this era, right?
Mm-hmm.
All due respect to Mike Tomlin, all due respect to John Harbaugh. They don't tower over the over the game like Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick did.
You're getting choked up just talking about
yeah,
it.
right. Let me wet my whistle, but
right, because that's the type of impact this has without
well,
Pete Carroll.
I mean, and what's beautiful about it is that Pete Carroll is so humble about it, right? Belichick, it's emotional in some ways because he is football, right? I mean, Bill Belichick is football. It's like he grows out of football. Pete Carroll is a kind of mystical wizard who really could have had this kind of impact anywhere in any walk of life. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, he's everybody coming out with their stories. You don't want to talk about my hair standing up on end. How do you know when a really special soul comes this way?
Because you never forget about them. You never
Yeah.
stop talking about them, and they live forever in the physical plane because of the impact they had spiritually.
And individual people who had one meaningful interaction with Pete Carroll were all coming out upon the news of him being made an advisor, say, let me tell you my Pete Carroll story.
Right.
Let me tell you how this one interaction I had with Pete Carroll will stay with me forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the videos and the joy and always the joy. And isn't it perfect? He's almost made me tear up. I saw a great still of Pete Carroll hugging Marshawn Lynch and saying something into his ear,
Oh,
the joy. It's the joy. It's the joy. It's bringing yourself into this world and this life. And I'm saying this because I'm not good at it. Joy, with joy in your heart, with the joy of participation, and all of the things, standing up on top of the lockers, tearing his shirt off with DK Metcalf at the combine interview. Even just when Drew Lock just threw that touchdown against Philadelphia recently, how excited he was, how infectious and energizing he is. And truly, I don't remember who it was that said this, but truly the player's coach, right? If Bill Belichick's like the football encyclopedia who can draw from the heavens any football knowledge or anything from the whole history of football, Pete Carroll's an extension of the players. And that's why, of course, upon his leaving as head coach, he says, this is about the players. It's about the players. It's about the players. And how joyous this team has been, and to bring something to a region, they lost the Seattle Supersonics, the Mariners. They love the Mariners, but this is a region they got a Super Bowl, should have had two. And Pete Carroll did that. And look, let's say this upon this occasion too: to get to the mountaintop in college and get to the mountaintop in the NFL. It's a very short list, extremely short list. Nick Saban, we're going to carry Nick Saban out on our shoulders in Alabama. What happened to him when he went to the NFL? How did the NFL treat him?
Disaster.
Yeah, Pete Carroll. A lot of people doubted Pete Carroll. And one of the things, Cease, anytime Pete Carroll was asked about a player, what word was almost always in whatever he said about the player?
Love.
That you can coach a football team and have the cohesive bonds. Not like we're going to die for each other. We love each other. And it's beautiful to see Pete Carroll as a success, and Pete Carroll going out again. You brought up Russell Wilson and Geno Smith, and even for one of his parting shots, we're like, let Russ cook, let Russ cook. Oh, you were right all along. Sorry. Uh, you know, that it works. That what I want to live in a world, I want to live in a universe where the way that Pete Carroll leads works, and it worked, and I'll always remember it.
That's because love is the ultimate disinfectant.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the way that the human mind, because that's what this game is like, and I'm talking about the game of life, but fear, we respond so much to fear in certain ways that we should not respond to. But that's the part of our brains where we like look for shelter. That love can bring out the best in you. You don't have to be a tyrant. You don't have to rule with an iron fist. You don't have to be an oppressor, right?
Yeah.
You
You don't
can
have to
love your
invoke
people.
sadness and disappointment. And do you want to live with losing?
Right.
No, you don't
Right.
have to invoke negativity.
Right.
Go towards the light, right?
Yeah, and Pete Carroll certainly did that.
Of
Ah,
the light.
Bloom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heavy
Yeah.
show today. To wrap it up, some staffs that were blown
Sure.
out, except for
Sure.
the head
Sure.
coach in
A
Chicago
different
and
approach.
Jacksonville. Right.
Yeah.
You're staying, but you have to fire everybody else.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this stuff won't work. And real quick, just to put a final note, not to end the pie into Pete Carroll. Like you said, Dan Quinn, whatever. Seattle's going to get, they have good ownership. Seattle's going to get whoever they want. John Schneider's still going to be there. There's going to be continuity, and we'll see what comes next for Seattle. A different approach in Chicago and in Jacksonville, where you say it's the hot dog meme, right? We're all looking for the guy who did this. It wasn't me. I'm not the problem. It was all of them. Those guys that I handpicked to coach with me. So what does that mean? I think for Chicago, it opens up more questions, just more questions. Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? And here's the problem if you're hiring for Chicago. Here's the problem if you're interviewing for Chicago. Cecil, I'll toss this back to you. Okay. If Matt Eberflus is a couple steps out on the plank, why would you want to take a job there knowing that if he gets fired, you're back to square one?
Well, I'm going to bring up EB. I mean, why did Eric Bieniemy go to Washington knowing Ron Rivera is going to get blown out? You know
Yeah,
what I
well, a
mean?
chance
Like,
to show what he can do, I guess.
yeah, and that's all you're going to get. So like instead of building something and moving together and going forward, coaches know, and you hitch your wagons to your friends or to people you trust, unless you've just got to try to showcase it and try to keep going. And yes, that does eventually maybe lead to a Mike McDaniel situation, right? Where he had to bounce around, he battled through alcoholism, all these sorts of things. Like Kyle Shanahan left Cleveland, like was I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with Johnny Manziel, whatever. Like, so that can lead to those situations, but this is not. And Chicago, you're excited about the draft. You're excited about sweat trade. Like there's so many things to be excited about. And then you're keeping Everfluss. It's like, what?
Yeah. And we'll just see who's the offensive coordinator, and Justin Fields is going to have to learn another system. So, I mean, in some ways,
Justin Fields,
if they keep Justin Fields, right, is this a precursor to they're not going to keep Justin Fields because that he's going to have to learn another system? You have to wonder, even bringing in Luke Getsy, was it you really wanted to start from the ground up like a first-time offensive coordinator? Look at the Ravens and the success they've had bringing in Todd Monken. So you hope for maybe somebody who's a little more experienced and maybe can cut some corners, or like you said, maybe it's a number 1 overall pick quarterback and Justin Fields traded. Or I keep hearing from people that the plan is, and again, assumption of rational personnel management, don't assume rationality here, is they are going to draft a quarterback and keep Justin Fields for a year, which, it's not the worst plan. It's not maybe the plan that people would pick first or even second out of the possible plans. And then there's Jacksonville, and I think both Jacksonville and the Giants, because the Giants are in a similar situation. I think one of the things, and maybe this is a flaw of the NFL, and see, maybe the flaw is in us. The flaw is not in the stars, but in us, right? Shakespeare. How quickly, I mean, at this time last year, Brian Dable, Doug Peterson, so much success, right? Just sweeping out the back door, all the bad vibes from the last coach, all the bad vibes from the quarterbacks they were developing. And now everything is on track. wow, these teams won playoff games last year, right? These teams were on track. And now, well, here's the choices. You're going to fire everybody except you, like you said. That's what's happening for the Giants. That's what's happening for the Jags. Will it work? It's possible. Is it possible? Yes. But does it make sense that it would work? No. No, because you're basically saying, I trust you, but I don't trust your ability to pick the guys that are going to work best with you. So try again, pick a whole nother new set of guys. And then who are you going to get when there's so many other openings now? And now you can join the staff at Seattle. If there's openings there, you can join.
Right.
New England's open now. So we'll see. We'll all wait. And another thing that was really fascinating about this too, Cease, is how there was the Black Monday and then the delay and the reverberations now on Stormy Thursday. I don't even know what we're call it. But it's quite a thing to behold, and it comes back to ownership, and always it comes back to what do you think wins football games, and it's hard to figure out how the ownership in Chicago and Jacksonville think this is going to work.
It is The Audible. It's footballguys.com. We're growing our YouTube channel. We need your help. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And our off-season plan, which includes a Shrine game recap, a Senior Bowl recap, because I'll be there at the practices, 18th year in a row for that, 19th year of this show. So let's flip and go. It's the off-season, but there's never an off-season for football talk when it comes to Cecil Lammey and Sigmund Bloom. Yes, I did just go third person. He's Sig. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at The Audible. We appreciate you all. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty,